Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to the May the 6th, 2014 regularly scheduled school board meeting. We have an audience filled with children and parents, and we're so welcoming and so happy to have you here. If you wish to speak during the hearing of citizens later in this meeting, please pick up a card in the back of the room, fill it out, and return it to Zoe Marshall, and she will bring it to us so that I may call you forward at the appropriate time to speak. You'll be allotted 3 minutes, and please note that respect for divergent viewpoints and civility will be shown at every board meeting. Now would you please stand as the Venice High School Color Guard under the direction of Master Gunnery Sergeant Frank Troxel leads us in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We also are welcoming this evening a new student representative, Bobby Pinkerton from Venice High School. Bobby, will you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Can you hold down? Hello, my name is Bobby Pinkerton, as she said, and I go to Venice High School. I am a junior. I will be a senior next year, and I have been involved with student government. I'm just one student body president, and I was formerly our junior class president, and I'm also involved with our political club at our school, and I try to stay involved with as many clubs as I can.
That's wonderful. Thank you for being here. Next, we have our special presentations, and this is a real pleasure. Tonight, we're highlighting grammar school. And coming forward to discuss what we're showing and talking about tonight is Mr. John Zordich, who's our Executive Director of Elementary Schools. Mr. Zordich.
Good evening, board members. First, I'd like to introduce our new administrative hire. As you well know, Dr. Buchanan at Tuttle Elementary School is retiring next month, and our new principal, who will be taking over next month after Dr. Buchanan leaves, is Tom DeVerno. Tom comes from us. He has K-12 experience in Colorado and California. He's been here in the district for 11 years, and most recently is the assistant principal at Northport High School. Tomas?
Thank you, Mr. Zordich, and thank you, everyone. I also want to thank the school board in Sarasota County Schools for all the support I've had in coming here and developing as a leader from the classroom to data coach to assistant principal and now principal at Tuttle Elementary. I really appreciate all the opportunities afforded to me, and one of those came to fruition recently. Years ago, I was at a leadership institute, and there was a Zumba class, and I said, well, sign up for that and see about how to stay healthy as an administrator and active, and I sweated a lot, and then just on Friday, I was up at Tuttle because they had a Zumbathon, so I said, hey, there's an opportunity where I learned something and applied it to my leadership, and I was really excited to start getting involved with the Tuttle community, and I look forward to working with the Tuttle families coming up in the next school year. Thank you again, School Board.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Foster, Allison Foster. Dr. Foster is principal at Philippi IB World School. It is the only totally IB program, which the whole school is IB in Sarasota County. There are 33 primary year program schools in the state of Florida, so this is one of 33. We feel ours is one of the best. Schools who are starting up IB come to Philippi to see what needs to be done to become an IB school. We just had visitors here from Polk County yesterday looking at the school and seeing all the wonderful things going on at Philippi. So we have a very special program. We have some second graders here tonight to talk a little bit about IB and our program, as well as this is one of our 4 co-teaching classrooms in the county. We have 4 of them. This is one of them. So, Allison, would you like to detail a little bit about IB tonight?
Okay, good evening. Good evening, Superintendent White and school board members and Mr. Zoritich and our other special guests here this evening. I want to thank you for giving our students the opportunity this evening just to highlight some of the exciting things happening at Philippi. In 2007, Philippi successfully completed the authorization to become an IB program. So we've been offering the program since 2007. We're part of a select group of schools to offer the IB program. It was founded in 1968, has approximately a little over 3,700 schools in 147 countries. The primary years program started in 1997, and it's offered in over 1,100 schools in 100 different countries, and as Mr. Zoritich said, that there are 33 in the state of Florida. And as he also stated, we did have a school visit our campus just yesterday to learn about how the IB program works at our school. And next year, 2015, we will be going through our second evaluation, so looking forward to that. As an IB school, we build on the natural curiosity of our students through structured inquiry, and our goal is to help our students have real-world experiences so they'll be prepared for the real world. During a time when there's such an emphasis on testing, it's great that the students have the opportunity to explore things, real experiences, which you'll see this evening when our second graders perform a couple of the units that they did this year. At each grade level, the students complete 6 different transdisciplinary units. And starting in kindergarten, our students learn about solids, liquids, and gases. They create oobleck and other neat science experiments. During their then and now unit, they learn about things from long ago, and they learn about what things were like when their parents were young, back when cameras had film and when computers had just one color on the computer screen. So it's always neat to see the kids' thoughts when they see some of those things that have changed so much in a short period of time. At the other end of the spectrum, our 5th graders have the opportunity to explore different occupations. Recently went to Enterprise Village. We'll be going to SCTI. We have attorneys coming in for a mock trial day. Also, our students in April, it was exciting as we were preparing for FCAT and focused on FCAT. We still had different experiences happening in the classroom. So during the month of April, our students were doing a human body unit, and they had the opportunity to dissect cows' eyes and pigs' hearts. So it was neat to walk through the classrooms and see the kids so excited about learning during a time when we were also preparing the kids for the FCAT. And, at Philippi, we really strive to move from paper and pencil projects to really making real-world experiences, which you'll see this evening with our second grade units. We want our students to ask questions. We want them to think and to solve problems, skills that they will need to use throughout their entire lives. This evening, we're providing just a glimpse of some of the exciting things that we offer here at Philippi. This is from our second grade classroom. Two of our classrooms, Mr. Anderson and Mrs. Collins, provide, as Mr. Zortich said, a co-teaching classroom. This is the second year that they've offered this model, and I think it's been very successful. It's been a great experience for our students. So our students are going to share 3 of the second grade IB units, and at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Arun Rucker, who will be the MC for the evening.
Have you ever wondered what an IB classroom looks like? My name is Arun Rucker, and I'd like to thank you for inviting us to the school board to present the things we've been doing in second grade at Philippi Shores. The activities we will be talking about today are Ellis Island, the way that immigrants got to America, our garden, and how we learn about being healthy, and finally, the Measurement Olympics, which was a competitive way to measure. Without further ado, we have Andrew Clayton and Ellis Island.
Have you been to Ellis Island in second grade? I have. My name is Andrew Clayton. But before we could turn the school into Ellis Island, we had to do some stuff. In reading, we read Takashi's Voyage. In writing, we wrote about the job we wanted for Ellis Island. We also learned about maps. At Ellis Island in the courtyard, we had to go to different information stations to get to America. Now Taylor will do an overview of Takashi's Voyage.
We read this historical fiction book, Takashi's Voyage. It's about a young boy from Japan. He got kidnapped and brought onto the ship Cindia headed for New York. His job on the ship was to take care of the captain's animals. He met a boy named Charlie that was about his age. They became friends. The trip took almost a year. They passed the equator and had a greeting from King Neptune by being splashed with water. They went around the Cape Horn of South America, and it was freezing cold. The Cindia almost made it to New York. A horrible storm pushed the ship into shallow water and sandbar near the beach. The ship is still stuck in Ocean City, New Jersey to this day. Now Miguel and Devin will be sharing their journal writings from Takashi's point of view. They'll be sharing chapters 8 and 9.
I was looking up over the ship when suddenly I saw a condor. But Charlie said the condor would take people out of their beds and fly off with them. It did seem they were coming to fly off with me, so I thought he was telling another story. Just then, somebody shouted there was a school of turtles beneath the ship, so they got the harpoons and started scooping them up. Mackenzie loved turtle soup and turtle meat. They caught a big turtle. That night, we were all sleeping on our beds when Wilkie shouted to furl the topgallants. It was almost finished when Captain Mackenzie shouted that all sailors had to be on deck. There were icebergs everywhere. The next morning, we saw penguins. Then someone shouted, "Cape Horn to port!" We arrived at Cape Horn. Then we saw another foremaster.
I was snuggling on the nice black furry coat of the dog on the ship when, well, imagine someone just picked you up and carelessly threw you against a wall. That is what it felt like when I got slammed against one of the walls of the ship. I calmed down the dog, Drake, by holding him. Then I ran to the deck to see what was happening. The Cindia's sails howled in the wind, and ice on the deck was making the crew members clumsy. Everyone was terrified as sailors attempted, but did not succeed, to climb the ratlines. The first mate yells that there are big waves coming. I noted that there were big waves, but even more importantly, the ship was not moving, so we must be aground. Running aground is every sailor's worst fear. Where's my best friend, Charlie? Is he in danger? Those are the questions I ask myself as I race around the Cindia to find him. When I finally find him, he points out something remarkable. "I see lights," he says. So we're close to shore, but what shore are we at? I say a prayer to the Buddha to be rescued.
Quinn is going to read what he wrote for the job he wanted for Ellis Island.
Imagine this. Millions of people go into Ellis Island every day, and probably one lazy doctor has let a sick person into America, and one person can make a big difference. 2 weeks, I would be a super medical employee at Ellis Island because I am principled and a thinker. To begin with, I would be a super medical employee because I am principled. 2 weeks ago, when I was at a friend's house and I was choosing my prize for a contest, my friend thought I had 65 points and I saw I had 56 points. 56 points was a real number of points. That was one time I was principled. In addition, 1 month ago, my older brother got sick and I had to take care of him and the family farm. I thought it would be a problem until I figured out a plan. With a stick, a long string, some shorter strings, rocks, and bells. My brother pulled the stick attached to the string, which acted like a pulley, which went into the shorter strings, dropping the rocks tied at the end onto the bells. The sound was as loud as thunder. That sounds so mean to my sick brother. That was one time I was a thinker. In conclusion, I'd be a great medical employee because I am principled and a thinker.
Now Javen will read the 3 things he would bring to America.
Picture this. You are traveling to America in 2 hours and you are packing your suitcase. I would pack my clothes, my money, and my toys. To begin with, I would pack my clothes so I would have something to wear. A few months ago, in a hotel named the Quinta Inn in Salt Lake City, Utah, I had scrambled to the pool and went swimming. When I got back to our room, I wanted to change my clothes. Ah, man, I said I was feeling blue, but then I remembered I had packed my clothes. This is why I would pack my clothes. Additionally, I would pack my money because if I saw something I wanted, I could buy it. A few months ago, I was at Westfield Mall. I ran in the mall and peered at the stores. After a while, I saw a store that made my eyes pop out as if a lion had spotted its prey. It was a candy store. I went in and bought 3 pieces of candy. I was so happy. This is why I would pack my money. Last but not least, I would pack my toys. A few months ago, I was in Portland, Oregon. I was watching a baseball game. A guy named Andrew McCutcheon slid slowly home for the winning run. Yay! But then I had nothing to do. Then I remembered I had my ball with me. I got it out from my suitcase, then dashed outside and dribbled it. This is why I would pack my toys. In conclusion, I would pack my clothes, my money, and my toys.
Now Rigson is going to talk about latitude and longitude.
Ocean and past the equator. Then they saw the Chile Mountains and rounded Cape Horn. They were headed for New York, but they sank in Ocean City, New Jersey. In class, we learned about a skill called latitude and longitude. One example is 30 degrees south and 6 degrees west. That would be Argentina.
And now Chloe is going to talk about immigration.
Have you ever learned about immigration? Well, I have. Immigration is when people move to another country. I learned about immigration in school and at home. To begin with, I learned about immigration because we got to go through Ellis Island. We set up tents and we got to dress up. The whole entire 2nd grade went through each and every station. When we got our last stamps, we went to Mr. Anderson's classroom. We got to eat and watch a movie. That is how I learned about immigration at school. In addition, I learned about immigration because I was an inquirer and asked my mom and dad and they gave me answers. My dad told me he was from Hanover in Germany. My mom's mom is from Cortina in Italy. 5 of my family relatives went on a ship and came to America. In conclusion, I learned about immigration at school and at home. Now Isabel is going to go through the Ellis Island process.
Welcome to Ellis Island. I'll be taking care of your baggage. May I see your passport, please? How many bags do you have?
1.
What color is it?
Purple.
What size is it?
A large.
What type is it?
A suitcase.
What is your tag number?
A. Isabel.
I hope you make it to America.
Welcome to the interview portion. May I have your passport, please? Have you completed preschool?
Yes.
Have you completed kindergarten?
Yes.
Have you completed first grade?
Yes.
Have you completed second grade?
No.
What jobs do you have at home?
I clean my room and wash the dishes.
What do you want to work as when you grow up?
A vet.
Welcome to the medical exam. Please do 10 jumping jacks. Please do 5 toe touches. Please do 5 nose touches. Can I check your eyes? Can I see your skin? Can I hear your heart? Have you ever had chicken pox?
No.
How much times have you been to the hospital?
3.
Welcome to the information station. I'll be asking you some questions. Can you please tell me your address?
357 Bayshore Drive.
Phone number?
941-708-1252.
Parents' names?
Carol and Mike.
Family members?
Carol, Mike, and George.
Pets?
Sasha and Gus.
Hi, this is passport verification. I'll be making sure you have all your stamps. Welcome to America.
Our next presenters will be Sophie Niebuhr and Ana Rodriguez-Diaz explaining the garden through technology.
I am Sophie Niebuhr.
And I am Ana Rodriguez-Diaz.
Hope you enjoyed the technology video.
I would like to thank Miss Matthews for helping us.
My name is Sophie Niebuhr.
My name is Ana Rodriguez-Diaz. Today we are interviewing Chef Paul Madison about our school garden.
How did you come up with the idea for the garden?
Well, I came up with the idea, I came up with the idea for the garden because I'm a chef, and so I think it's important that we all eat very good, nutritious, and healthy food. It's also got to be delicious. Last year, I was involved in a program called Chefs Move to Schools, and we worked in the school cafeteria and made some new recipes to put on the school lunch program. And when I was in the cafeteria working with all the students, I realized that that cafeteria could use a few more fresh vegetables. So we planted a garden to raise the vegetables that we can use in the school cafeteria for your lunch every day.
What goes into caring for the garden?
Well, caring for the garden takes a lot of work. It has to be watered every day. We have to pick weeds so that the plants don't get smothered by all the bad weeds, and all the good plants grow. We have to trim. We have to know when it's time to harvest, and keep an eye on the plants to make sure that no bugs or no diseases get on them, to make sure that they grow healthy and strong. So there's a lot of work every day, and all the students have been helping me quite a bit. Everyone comes out and helps us to pull weeds and helps us to keep an eye on all the plants and make sure they're all growing well.
Why is it important to use fresh vegetables when you cook?
Well, I think it's very important to use fresh vegetables when you cook for a lot of reasons. First of all, they taste better. Second of all, when vegetables are picked from the garden, they have the most nutrition in them right then. So the quicker we eat them, the fresher they are, the more nutrition is going to be in them, and they are going to taste better. So for both of those reasons, we should always try to use fresh vegetables if we can.
What kinds of meals would you make with our garden vegetables?
Well, we can make all kinds of meals with those vegetables. You can always make soup and mix all the different vegetables together, either a soup or a yummy stew or even a pasta dish. We're growing some kale. Kale could be either a salad or just a vegetable on its own or mixed up with pasta and in soup. We're also growing tomatoes, so we can make tomato sauce, we can make salads, we can do all kinds of things with that. And over the summer, we're going to grow pumpkins, and hopefully all those pumpkins will be ready in the fall for our big fall festival.
This is Miss May, our cafeteria manager here at Philippi Shores.
We are going to ask her some questions about our school garden.
What kinds of dishes will you plan with the food from the garden?
Well, I think it's going to depend on what you bring out of the garden, but we'll try and incorporate whatever things you do grow into our recipes that we do make here. We do buy our produce now as much as we can from local farmers, so it'll just be incorporated in with that stuff that we do now. Okay? Whatever you get out of the garden, we're going to try and use as much of it as we can.
Will we be included in the planning?
I think so. As soon as we figure out what we get out of the garden, I think that they'll have Mr. Madison will come up with some recipes with the kids like we did last year when we had the chefs move to school. The kids came in the kitchen and helped him make food. So I'm probably sure we'll do it that way.
How will this affect the choices kids make?
Well, I think the kids will be more apt to try things because it grows in our garden. That it'll give them an opportunity to try things that they've never had. Some kids don't have that many varieties at home, so I think because it's grown in the garden, they'll be more apt to taste it.
Do you think the kids will enjoy it?
Well, I think so, because it's grown here in our garden. I think the kids are going to be more apt to try it. I think they're going to like it. At least they'll get the chance to try something new, and we'll try to make kid-friendly recipes that they'll enjoy. You know what I'm saying? The kale's going to make a nice salad, the tomatoes, all those things.
This is Ryan, and this is Jack. We're going to tell you some things about the garden.
I understand that you grew seedlings in your classroom. How did you care for them?
We planted tomatoes, pumpkins, onions, pineapple. Biggest job, we had to make sure they had just enough water. Logan and Son are going to tell you some things of science about the garden. What are some things you learned that plants need to grow? We learned that plants need water, sun, and soil. What are you looking forward to eating from the garden? Tomatoes, onions, and I never had kale. Why do you think we are planting so many pumpkins? We're carving the pumpkins for pumpkin night.
Finally, Oliver Brum will be explaining and demonstrating the Measurement Olympics.
Have you ever
Have you ever been in an Olympics where measuring is the king? I have. I'm Oliver Brum, and I would like to explain the Measurement Olympics to you. On April 25th, I participated in the Measurement Olympics, and I felt superb when I completed all of the events. Scott Voigt will be our mathlete for the games. The first event will be the Olympic Golf Putting Challenge. First, Scott will estimate how far the ball will land from the hole in inches.
I estimate that I will hit the ball 14 inches from the hole.
Next, he will take one practice swing, and then he will take a gentle swing to make the ball roll towards the hole. Finally, he will accurately measure in inches how far the ball is from the hole.
I actually hit the ball 19 inches from the hole.
Now Scott will move on to the second event, cotton ball shot put. Before beginning the event, he will first estimate how far he can throw a cotton ball.
I estimate that I can throw a cotton ball 33 centimeters.
For this event, he will stand on the tape line and throw the cotton ball with one hand as far as he can throw it. He will then accurately measure the distance in centimeters.
I actually threw a cotton ball 69 centimeters.
Our third event will be the paper plane fly. Before he starts this event, he will make an estimate on how far his jet airplane will fly.
I estimate that I can throw a paper airplane 3 feet 7 inches.
First, he will put his feet on the line and throw the paper airplane. Then he will have a partner mark where the airplane landed. He will measure the distance in feet and inches. Finally, he will record his results in his measurement notebook.
I actually threw a paper airplane 3 feet.
In our fourth event, Scott will participate in the sponge squeeze. This event is very wet and messy. Before he gets wet, he makes an estimate for how many milliliters he will squeeze into a measuring cup.
I estimate that I can squeeze 350 milliliters of water.
Then he grabs the sponge until the assistant asks him to squeeze the water with one hand and wait for the assistant to say stop.
Go. Stop.
Then he will measure the amount of water that he squeezed in milliliters and record his results.
I actually squeezed 125 milliliters of water.
Our fifth and final event is the marble grab. First, Scott will estimate how many grams he can grab with one hand.
I estimate that I can grab 106 grams of marbles.
Then he will plunge his hand into the marbles and pull out as many grams as he can with one hand. Then he will measure the grams he grabs and will write it down in his Measurement Olympics notebook.
I actually grabbed 120 grams of marbles.
When the mathletes completed all of the events, they were invited to go inside the cafetorium and have ice cream sundaes. They were allowed to measure 20 grams of their two favorite toppings. I chose white chocolate chips and Hershey's dark chocolate chips. Yum! I hope you enjoyed the Measurement Olympics simulation. After the Olympics, we wrote acceptance speeches. just in case we won a medal. Susan Lothar wrote an amazing speech. Don't just take my word for it. Here is Susan with her amazing speech.
One day at Measurement Olympics, I won a gold medal. I was very excited because I won the relay race. It was fantastic. I would like to thank the PTO for setting it up and my parents for helping me. I won by being very fast, measuring in ounces, gallons, and cups. It was great to do it because we were as fast as a cheetah in the courtyard. I did it with my friends, which helped me pour faster. By the time we were done, our hands were soaking like after a rainstorm. I thought the Measurement Olympics was a superb idea because it definitely helped me in my measurement ability. Thank you to everyone for my medal. I will cherish it forever. Now back to Arun.
In conclusion, Ellis Island, the Garden, and the Measurement Olympics was just a peek into our IB classroom. Again, thank you for your time. And now back to Dr. Foster.
I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to share some of the exciting learning opportunities happening at Philippi. And I want to congratulate our second grade students for doing an excellent job this evening. I also want to recognize their teachers, Mrs. Kelly Collins and Mr. Jim Anderson, if you can stand up and wave. And also to thank Ann Matthews for putting together the video production. I want to thank the board for supporting the IB program. Your support financially and also just with our program in general helps to bring this innovative approach to our students. So I want to thank you for that. Also, we had some pictures that we weren't able to show while also doing the presentation. So Christine has those and she can share some of the pictures of the actual events happening at our school. Thank you.
Dr. Foster, I just want to say thank you for bringing this program to us tonight because it truly is inspirational. I know what a great principal you are. I've seen you in action, worked with you on the referendum, and thank you for all your help with the referendum. You have a fine group of students, wonderful parents, involved parents. Thank you all for being here tonight and showing us what wonderful things our students are doing. And we so appreciate it. You all are winners. You're all stars to us. And I know that this is a school night, but thank you all for taking time to be here tonight. It means a great deal to us. Mrs. Zucker.
I just wanted to thank you also. I know it is a school night, but for us to be able to see the students come up to that mic and the self-confidence that they have, the very fact that they can take the mic and pull it to their mouth. It doesn't seem like it's something, but it's a big deal that they know enough that they have to project through the microphone. I still have trouble doing that. So to see these youngsters, second graders, doing that was amazing. Not only that, but the way they acted and just their whole demeanor. What a fantastic experience for these students. Thank you all for coming out and for sharing your students and for allowing us to have the opportunity to witness firsthand what it is you do in the classroom. Thank you.
And once again, board, since it is a school night, I'd like to invite the Philippi parents to take their children and go home at this time. So thank you again for coming.
What poise and grace. These students are really something. Thank you again. And now we'll continue with our board meeting, and we have the superintendent's report. Mrs. White.
Board members, we heard at our last board meeting a little bit of information about the Summer Hunger Campaign. And I thought I might once again make sure our community knows about this wonderful project that our community partners are working together so we can make sure we don't have children that are hungry over the summer. This summer, the school district is joining forces with All Faith Food Bank, the Gulf Coast Community Foundation, and other supporting organizations and individuals to help feed hungry children in Sarasota and DeSoto counties. Since more than 50% of the students in our district, about 21,000 children, receive free and reduced cost lunches, community members wanted to help feed these children during the summer. Generous donors have contributed to All Faith Food Bank's campaign against summer hunger, so we can add to our regular summer feeding program, which will be in place at over 40 sites this year. The food bank is also setting up a backpack summer food program and mobile food pantries at additional sites in both counties. People who want to learn more about how they can help or how children can benefit from the campaign against summer hunger may visit allfaithfoodbank.org. So I want to make sure our community continues to be aware of that wonderful program. I also, as you know, we did get the conference budget, and Al has run the numbers again, and I wish I had positive news to tell you, but I will tell you in all the years that I can recall, and being aware of how this all works in determining the budget for the next school year, when they go into conference, you can generally feel that it might be somewhere between whatever the Senate budget is and House budget is, that it will be in that range. And so for the first time ever in my memory, we got a much lower amount in terms of the education funding for the state of Florida than either was in the House budget or the Senate budget. So you know, even when Al was crunching the numbers with the governor's budget, which is how this all starts in terms of projections, we were looking at the possibility in terms of still not having a balanced budget. We knew we would still have to once again dip into our reserve, maintaining that 7.5% reserve, which is the policy of the board. But we were looking in the neighborhood of a little over $4 million that we would have to be dipping into those reserves. Then when we looked at the Senate budget, it was also in that $4 million, but the House was looking a little bit better, $3.8 million. So we felt pretty confident, though, we were in the neighborhood of what our projection would be. And so we moved forward with our school budgets and department budgets, thinking that we would probably be in this neighborhood, anywhere from $3.8 to $4.8 million. But once we've had the final conference report, which is that final negotiation, it was not as positive. And in fact, we will be looking at needing to dip into our reserve to the tune of about $5.8 million. And that's very disappointing because we had really hoped that this year would we get much closer. This actually is very similar to the amount of reserves we had to use this year. This year it was just slightly over $6 million, but you can see that is very close. So disappointing, but I felt it was important enough that I used this opportunity to give you that update rather than wait for the couple of weeks where it's typically talked about at our workshop. So, unfortunately, that's the superintendent's report tonight.
Mrs. Zucker?
No, this is really bad news for us, especially since the state really took in a lot more money this year than it did last year. And to cut education once again, which is the core of the future of the America and the United States, to cut education once again is beyond my belief. I mean, I am just so fed up with what's happening with the legislators and at the fact that they can't understand the importance of education. And education is not the first thing on their minds. This is the worst news we can have. I suppose it could have been worse, but we totally were not prepared for this, especially knowing the excess funding that was coming in over last year's projections into their coffers.
Mrs. Brown?
Yeah, I guess it's a little hard for me to understand, and I'm sure for the public too, reading over the newspaper articles about when session ended, it said education was a winner this year. Apparently, we did get more money than last year, correct? Just not what we had been expecting. So they didn't cut education from what it was last year. They just cut what it was from the original budget, which they were giving us an extra billion, not us, but the state.
Yes, they did. As you are aware, there was an increase last year that was largely that teacher raises. So that has been maintained. That increase has been maintained, as they said they would. So they did follow through with that. But we had hoped for some additional dollars to begin to help whittle down the use of the reserves. And it seemed to indicate by the increased funding that was available and the proposed budgets everywhere from the governor, the Senate, and the House. But for whatever reason, in the conferencing process, we did not achieve that.
Will we be discussing this at the next workshop?
We will, but I think it is, we will move forward with the budgets as we do, and once you begin that process, you don't try to bring them back and make adjustments. That would not be appropriate. But I think it puts everyone on notice that it will be a tight year next year. We are going to have to continue very conservative processes, continue to have our hiring freeze once we put positions in place, like we will do at the beginning of the year, but throughout the year we will look cautiously at those positions so that we can hopefully begin to use less of the reserve in the following year's fiscal budget.
Mrs. Brown.
I think adding insult to injury here is that two new voucher programs, well, one apparently gives parents of homeschoolers who have special needs vouchers, and also vouchers for the Step Up program is set to increase dramatically, raising the level of income the children can have, and also allowing sales tax to be generated. And I haven't got it all clear yet because it was a big amendment at the end of the session and what exactly was in that. But perhaps even our local reporters can look into it and give us more explanation about what was actually in that, and hopefully our staff will too when we meet in our workshop. But it is disappointing that public education isn't getting what it should be, in my opinion.
Well, I think it's kind of discouraging because you look in the newspaper yesterday and it said education is a winner and gets a big increase, and everywhere I looked over the weekend, Miami Herald, the Tampa paper, it seemed to indicate that we were a big winner, and yet it doesn't seem to hold true that is the situation. Mrs. Zucker.
If you look where the funds are actually going, you will see that this is a continuation, in my mind, of the dismantling of public education in the state of Florida. If you look at all the amendments that have passed through, and you'll see what public education, what's been allocated to public education and what's being allocated to private and special schools, you will see the dismantling of public education as we know it today. And I feel sorry for the future of our state and our country if this continues. There is no accountability required on the other schools that are now getting the tax money for the corporate tax vouchers. There is no accountability to that.
And that ends the superintendent's report. Moving forward, we have our hearing of citizens. Tonight I have two cards. The first one is from Mr. Aaron Talley. Mr. Talley, would you come forward, please? You'll be allotted 3 minutes, and please note that respect and divergent viewpoints and civility will be shown at every board meeting. And when the green light goes, you know where the red light is, I think. Please proceed.
Aaron Talley, Sarasota citizen. I'd first like to ask the board to raise the speaking time from 3 minutes to 6 minutes. The question is, why would a country that was expanding and strengthening at a massive rate during the 18th and 19th century need compulsion education? Why would a country forcibly remove children from their parents under penalty of jail and steep fine in order to give them an education? Is the state that concerned with the need for children to learn? The beginnings of compulsory education started in a time when child labor was still in great practice. Children were the most ideal type of people to use in coal mining. Reports of children as young as 5, half naked with harnesses around them, soaking wet, pulling carts of coal out of the mines was a reality. Child exploitation in manufacture was terrible. Wage slavery was absolute. All this allowed and even encouraged by the government. So all this in the state cares so much for the magical attainment of knowledge. I would like it known that it was not compulsory schooling laws that brought children out of the mines, but new advances in machinery. Adam Smith, the economist, had some very good things to say about how school economics should be run. He says, if in each college the tutor or teacher who was to instruct each student in all arts and sciences should not be voluntarily chosen by the student, but appointed by the head of the college, and if in case of neglect, inability, or bad usage, the student should not be allowed to change him for another without leave first asked and obtained, such a regulation would not only tend very much to extinguish all emulation among the different tutors of the same college, but to diminish very much in all of them the necessity of diligence and of attention to their respective pupils. Such teachers, though very well paid by their students, might be as much disposed to neglect them as those who are not paid by them at all, or who have no other recompense but their salary. What he's saying is that their students should be allowed to change their teachers in the colleges, and this would prevent poor teachers. The discipline, he goes on, the discipline of colleges and universities is in general contrived, not for the benefit of the students, but for the interest, or more properly speaking, for the ease of the masters. Its object is, in all cases, to maintain the authority of the master, and whether he neglects or performs his duty to oblige the students in all cases to behave to him as if he performed it with the greatest diligence and ability. It seems to presume perfect wisdom and virtue in the one order of the teacher, and the greatest weakness and folly in the other, of the student. Where the masters, however, really perform their duty, there are no examples, I believe, that the greater part of the students ever neglect theirs. No discipline is ever requisite to force attendance upon lectures which are really worth the attending, as is well known whenever such lectures are given. Force and restraint may no doubt be in some degree requisite in order to oblige children or very young boys to attend to those parts of education which it is thought necessary for them to acquire.
And next we have Mr. Charles Hummer. Mr. Hummer, would you come forward, please?
My name is Charles Hummer. I bet you thought I wasn't coming back anymore, but I was getting health care taken because of my contaminated U.S. gypsum drywall. The same drywall that is in Lamarck School. Real quick note, you're talking about the budget and how your shortfalls. If the school board wouldn't have blew $1 million of wasted money on companies in Lamarck this last school year, you'd have additional funding. A couple of days ago, Center of Disease Control released their health consultation. And in this, they list the medical symptoms, which, by the way, equals all the symptoms that your children at Lamarck experienced since probably 2006 when the school was built. And the CDC says not all the homes contain drywall manufactured in China. Some problem homes contain drywall manufactured in North America, and some have drywall with no indication of origin. When the ATSDR uses the phrase problem drywall in this document, we're referring to all homes with the problem, regardless of the drywall's country and origin. This is the CDC saying this, not me. Okay, ALS Laboratories, not me, gave you 9 tests that you sent into them. 2 of the 3 gases registered on that, all right? You also found some pipes on the bottom of the sink, and you sent those off because those were tarnished, and you tried to blame it on the sewer gases from a vent that was setting up higher, which isn't the case, but I'll give you that one. But then how do you explain the pictures of the pipes in the walls that you also showed in your documents when those pipes are tarnished and corroded? The sewer gases didn't get to those because there was covered with drywall. That's just another example, plus with all the wiring in your schools that's tarnished. Those make up the criteria from the CPSC and HUD requirements for problematic drywall. Not only that, one of the newspaper reporters checked Ashton Elementary School and Lamarck, same size roughly. Lamarck had 60% more health room visits than Ashton this last school year. Why is that? That's because Lamarck has contaminated the United States gypsum and national gypsum drywall. I'll be back at the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Hummer. And now we move to no additions or corrections to the agenda. May I have a motion, please, for approval of the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
Please vote. The vote passes 4-0. There are no items pulled for comment. We now move to new business. May I have a motion on item number 38, please?
I would move that the school board approve the new job description, College and Career Center Coordinator, as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote. The motion passes 4-0. May I have a motion, please, on item number 39?
Move that the school board approve the new job description, Deputy Superintendent, as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote. The motion passes 4-0. May I have a motion, please, for item number 40?
I would move that the board approve to advertise the revisions to the school board policies 3.23, 5.323, 6.39, 8.10, 8.16, and 9.21.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote. The vote passes 4-0. That ends new business. Does anyone have an announcement? I want to say that today the 2014 Giving Challenge is going on for those in our audience who might want to go on and give to a favorite charity in town. Please do that. And as Mrs. White mentioned, the Summer Hunger campaign is going on, and this Saturday, postmen are picking up food for that campaign. Please leave food at your mailbox. Our next regular monthly work session will be on Tuesday, May the 20th, from 10 until 3, and our next regular board meeting will be on Tuesday, May the 20th at 3 p.m. We're adjourned.
I am so pissed with all legislators, you know that?
I am too.